Hello. So the other night when I did a video and I was discussing how sometimes the topic of death can come up in a reading or a healing or a session with somebody or just in your own life, right? Like that scare can come up and we can have different timelines presented to us. And I really do feel like in a way it is that because what you choose to believe is going to, really influence that. There are other things outside of you that influence things as well. I have noticed, and it's always going to be situational. This is the thing. It's like there's infinite timelines, so there's like infinite possibilities, and there's multitudes of perspective. And trying to look at things from different perspectives is going to really help you a lot with dealing with people in general, just to see their side of things and to even introduce new sides of things to people that may need it to be like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. So that comes through a lot. But when I shared that, I had mentioned how sometimes people say things that can be almost like detrimental to another person and guide them to a timeline that's maybe more likely them being hurt rather than the timeline where they survive. Like in the case that I spoke about, there was somebody that was told they're definitely like no longer going to be okay, and I was like, what? No, that's crazy, we can't think that way, what are you talking about? And holy crap, I see a face like right there. What is that? What is that? Oh, is it a blanket? Okay. Is it? What is it? Alright, God, gotta get rid of that. Sorry. I just did the demon video and I was like, it looked like that. Okay, but alright, even in that, things are around us. Influences around us. Spirit shows us things. Spirit shows me things anyways, okay? So I see stuff that other people don't see. And I take it as signs. And that helps me to like stay away from certain things or recognize certain things, avoid certain things, and clear certain things up. And then, pivot to better situations. I do get tested a lot. There's sometimes that I am my own worst enemy, and I'll admit that. And I think a lot of people can be that way because of how this world has been set up. But that night when I made that video, somebody commented about a situation that I can identify with as well, and I feel like a lot of you may have this happen already, or it may happen in your future, especially the more you become spiritually awakened, you're raising your vibration, you're doing healing sessions and things like that, you will become almost like a target for people who are in need of healing, right? So sometimes there's people maybe scared with cancer or scared with something specific, or they could have some stuff around them that needs to be seen and cleared, right? So that can impact you. A person commented about the situation where they had spoke to someone and they were like, are you feeling okay? And very shortly after, that person passed away. And I feel like that person did absolutely nothing wrong in that circumstance. I don't think that anything would have changed anyway, whatever they said. And this is something I've personally been through, where there was a person from the Pleiadian group a long time ago. His name is Derek, and we were good friends. He was in that group all the time. He was always commenting. He lived in Minnesota with his cats. I used to do readings for him, and he had booked a reading with me and told me that he wasn't feeling well. And I was like, okay, we can reschedule. I was like, maybe take a hot bath. And then the next thing that I heard about him a few days later is that he was found in the bathtub. What? And I was like, oh my God, I told him to take a bath. I had a hard time. There's a video where I was like, your soul family needs you, on the Bridget channel. Because I was so upset. But in reflection after that, I feel like sometimes people come to us almost as like a gateway. Sometimes we interact with people right before they go, and there's like, maybe we're clearing something up with them, we're forgiving each other of something, we're releasing something, because that's not the only time that's happened to me. My protege, who received everything I had at the time, like, she came, she got all the Muniki right, she got all the star right, she did the new paradigm, she did the Reiki. She's like the only person that, like, around that time that I had taught. Like, she's the only person I've given a Reiki master to. She's the only you know what I mean? Like, I never really got into giving Reiki, but I did it for her, you know. That's kind of how that relationship was. She came to my house every single week, and she was my protege. I set up her, like, stuff for her business. She was going to be Lyran Essentials or something like that. Like, she came up with something similar to what I did, and I helped her with her Canva stuff and all of that. And then during the purge of my friends, when there was an attachment around and I had, like, that thing stabbed into me, huh, buddy, she was lost in the purge of friends because a new dude showed up in her life. It was not good for her, and I said that. She got mad and she went off with the girl that, like, systematically took every single person out. But before she passed away, because she ended up passing away, she came back into my life and, like, reached out to me to apologize, and I was like, that's fine, no problem. And I was, like, distant with her, and she tried to get a hold of me, like, more times. She was like, she let me know that my twin flame had, like, friended her on Facebook, because she had tried to friend him years prior, and he never accepted it until, like, right around that time. And then shortly after that, she had, like, messaged me, and it was within a very short amount of time I found out that, like, the night that I ignored her, she passed away very shortly after. And I was like, what the hell? Oh my god. And then I had it happen with an ex who told me he was going to no longer be alive without me. And I was like, you'll be fine. And very shortly after, like I feel like, okay, so I've been through this. I get this. And I've had other people present this information to me, that sometimes when you do, like, the shamanic stuff, you can be, like, a doorway or a gateway for certain people. Like, when my mother passed, that's, like, I've learned the death rites. Death is part of life. It's not something that, like, we need to shun away or ever, like, take responsibility that we did something wrong, but we don't want to guide people in a way of, like, to their ultimate demise. You know what I mean? Like, what I did was not an intentional, oh, you're gonna go pass away in the bathtub. It was literally just trying to help him to feel better. I didn't know that what was happening, you know? I felt like he was off, but it's the same case for that other person. She didn't know that person was going to pass away. She felt something was off, and then they passed away, but there's nothing she could have done differently. Because even if she knew, like, that's a thing. If you had that type of gift, you'd have to be very careful with it, because there's a reason why we don't know when we go. And that's why you shouldn't let other people determine it for you in a reading. That's the difference. You know what I mean? Like, we can tell people we feel something's off and that maybe they should go to the doctor or something like that, and propel them to their higher timeline where they find it out and they get better, right? But there's also that where it's like, oh, they've already been to the doctor? Oh, you're definitely gonna be... Nah. Screw you, man. You're just dead. Like, that is no. That is a no. That's a no. We saw that. That's a no. Because I said a no. And she said, okay, no. And then she's like, oh my God, I lived. And that was the person that when I was doing the healing, another person saw a superimposed arm go up out of my arm and into her neck and pull something out. And that is where she had the cancer. She got all better. So there's a difference. But yeah, death is definitely a part of life, and death is possibly going to be a weird subject for you on a spiritual path. If you're a healer, light worker, you know, empath. Empaths attract people who need healing. We are, you know, good with animals. We are calming. People feel called to us. They feel like they can, I don't know, tell us everything. Right? And that's not a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing if people connect with you right before they pass, because it's probably a good thing. It shows that you've been doing good work and you have good karma and you're clearing up your contracts and you're not leaving like these unnoted things. You know what I mean? Even if you didn't speak to that person, like in my case, I accepted her apology, but I was keeping my distance because I knew something was off, and then she ended up overdosing. Like, I knew that she had issues like that, and I could tell that she was headed on that path back when I told her about the boyfriend not being a good situation. Um, he's just like a big old wobbly bobble. He's just a big old wobbly bobble. This is what he did when I taught the new paradigm. He just laid there in my arms. He comes in for certain healing sessions. He comes in for certain times. He is the Syrian wiener dog. He is a dolphin energy. So he may be here to help us to the discussion of death. He is the dark dog too. He is the dark dog. Are you the death dog? You good boy? You got the tail going? He got the tail going. He's a good boy. He's so weird. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that because I feel like people might need to know that. Like, we don't want to guide people in a negative way, like, oh, definitely. But if someone's on their deathbed, we don't want to be like, oh no, you're definitely not dying. We can overcome this. That's why I say it's situational. But usually when someone's on their deathbed, they've already accepted it. They've already been on that timeline. They wouldn't have gotten right there if they hadn't, right? So we can take that responsibility off of ourselves of being like, this is my fault. If I had only done something different, like when my mother went, that was a mess because she told me in the morning she didn't want to live anymore. And they were like, all right, we're going to set it up. And I had to call everybody to come. And then they gave her her first dose of morphine. And she was like, I don't want to die. And that was her last words. So that messed me up too. But over time, I realized, like, I know part of that was because they had taken away her pain medicine, but she was dying anyways. It was at the point where she was going to die anyways. Like, the doctors were saying she was all full of stuff. She was sepsis, she was this, she was that, she was... So, you know what I mean? But hearing her say that, and me being, like, the main person in charge of it all, like, the nurse would come in and be like, hey, do you want to give her another shot? And I'm like, I don't know. And sure, if you want to, like, if you're offering it, I don't know how this works. Like, you know what I mean? So death is a part of our life. It's not always easy. Even as a healer, a light worker, an empath, sometimes it's going to be hard to process. Sometimes there's going to be lingering feelings. But I have learned over time, in many deaths, that it's not my fault. And there's a reason people go when they go. But while they're here, I don't want to make their life speed tracked on the way there. You know what I mean? If I feel like there's potential that they're not on their last breath, I will help them to find that better potential. And that's what I'm doing for myself and my wieners. So hopefully this makes sense to somebody. In Renee, namaste.